everyone, and welcome down to episode 177 of the Down South Photo Show with me, Brendan Waits, here in Ocean Grove, Victoria, Australia, and no one on the other screen today. I'm flying solo. Mr. Blake from Tasmania is currently running one of his tours down at Flinders Island, so he's unavailable because the internet down there is not the best. So we thought we would. I thought I'd fly solo today. So because we care about our audience and we want to put episodes out every week as much as we possibly can. A little bit different today. What I thought I would do is take you guys on a bit of a photo shoot. So if you keep watching after I do a bit of homework here, a bit of housekeeping here, you guys can catch up with me over at Point Lonsdale. So I went out this afternoon and did a bit of a shoot over there, and I thought I'd take you guys along for the ride just to show you a little bit about how I go about taking photos and a few tips and pointers and that sort of stuff, because that's something that we want to add to this channel, is some in the field stuff where we can actually take you guys along and show you how we go about things. So stay tuned for that. We'll put that after a little bit of a housekeeping here. Thank you to all 1,300 of you who have subscribed to the YouTube channel and the many thousands more that listen to us regularly on our audio podcast through Podbean and through Spotify and through Apple Podcasts and wherever you find your audio podcasts. As far as the YouTube is concerned, there is a big subscribe button just down there, and also a little thumbs up button. So if you want to hit that, we won't complain at all. A little bit about our workshops for 2026. So we'd run 4 workshops a year. One of them is already sold out. That is the Kangaroo Island workshop next year. Our Great Ocean Road workshop is filling up quick. So you'll need to head over to dsps.com.au and check that out. That is the website right there, dsps.com.au. Click on the workshops tab and have a bit of a look-see. Great Ocean Road is selling out fast. And then we have our two in Tasmania, which are the east coast of Tasmania, Freycinet and Bay of Fires, which we're doing next year, and also our Tarkine to Cradle Mountain one, which we just ran about a month ago. Very, very popular workshop, that one, because of the amazing locations that we go to. And this year, some brilliant photos were taken by participants on that workshop. So jump over and have a look at the workshops, and you'll find all the info at dsps.com.au. Photo of the week time, because I'm not, just because I'm here on my own doesn't mean I can't have a photo of the week. This was my photo of the week at Point Lonsdale, which I'm going to be showing you around a little bit later on. This shot was done on Father's Day. It was in the early afternoon on Father's Day. We had a few storms coming across here on the Bellarine Peninsula, which gets us photographers very excited. Some moody skies. It was sort of grey and drab, but there was a bit of swell running, so I was able to get some sort of long exposure stuff. This is around a 2-second exposure, done with a neutral density filter and a polarizer. Nice and wide, as you can see. This is probably shot at 16 millimeters. Shot on the Tamron 16 to 30 f2.8 lens at around f11, 2 seconds at around f11. This is shot on the Nikon Z5 Mark II, which I'm really enjoying using. Still getting used to it. I've had that camera now for about 6 or 7 weeks and used it a fair bit. There's still a couple of idiosyncrasies that I'm sort of too used to the old OM system camera that I was using. I sort of kept going back to, but further proof that practice makes perfect when you're out taking photos. Just keep taking them, folks, because then you get so much out of that and get used to your new gear. If you do get a new camera, you want to just use it and use it and use it so that when you're out in the field, you don't make any mistakes, or you limit the mistakes that you make. That was Point Lonsdale on Father's Day. And the day before that, I actually managed to get this shot as well, which was at Barwon Heads. So I was out for my Saturday morning stroll with my wonderful dog Buddy, and heading over for a coffee, and I was able to get this shot of the fog rolling up the Barwon River, which was pretty cool, actually, because when I got there, there was no fog, seemingly no fog around, and then as the sun started to come up, we could see the fog rolling up the river, and it basically covered over the entire river mouth, which was pretty cool. So there's a couple of shots for you for photos of the week. I also wanted to just hark back to the comp that we ran back in August, the 3 comp. We had a lot of questions from people with regards to that image, and I'll put it up on the screen again now. So that was that image there. It was shot by Dave Marland. Really cool photo of 3 fighter planes, I guess you would call them. Dave was very, very kind enough to send us in an email as well, just with a bit of a description about the photo, because we did have a few questions about the image. And so thanks, Dave. I'll just quickly read through Dave's email that he sent us. He said the photo was taken at the Tocumwal Air Show in 2022. Now, Tocumwal is on the Murray River, the border between Victoria and New South Wales. They have an air show there every couple of years, Dave says, but he doesn't want me to tell anyone about it because it'll get too popular. He said that although there's a lot of people at the air show, you can get very close to the action, and it's a very open area and plenty of photo opportunities. Most of the aircraft are of World War II vintage, but there are other interesting displays, including some pretty good aerobatics. He says those looking for the latest and greatest in aircraft should head to Avalon for their air show. This photo was shot with a Canon 7D Mark II with a 70-200 f2.8 coupled with a 2x teleconverter. Now, being the 7D Mark II, I would imagine that is the APS-C crop sensor, David. So with a 2x teleconverter, you've effectively got a 400mm lens, which means you've effectively got a 600mm lens with the crop factor. I think it's around 600mm equivalent on that lens. So the clouds were well behind the aircraft, but the telephoto compressed the image, making it look as though the aircraft were amongst the clouds. It was a conscious decision to take the shot as they transited that dark area behind them. The aircraft themselves, from left to right, are, as I remember, a Kitty Hawk, a Mustang, and a Spitfire. But I could be wrong about the last 2. They may be the other way around, I'm sure. An observant viewer will let us know if that is correct. But he also goes on to mention people around were complaining a bit about the clouds, but his mate and himself were relishing it. The next air show in 2023, the skies were perfectly blue and did not complement these aircraft very well at all. However, they were better conditions for photographing aerobatics to get some separation from the background with smoke trails, etc. And Dave said the lesson there is to adapt to the conditions. So well done, David, again. Great photo. Thanks for the background on it. And as we mentioned in the last episode, you have a prize coming to you from Mr. Blake, which I think is one of his books coming out to you. So thanks, David. Awesome. So we also would, of course, like to thank anyone who has donated beer to the show this week. Beer donations are there to keep us running. It helps us buy things like microphones. It helps us pay subscriptions to YouTube Premium and all that sort of stuff, and editing software and that sort of stuff to bring you the podcast week in, week out. This week's beer donators, Mel H, Shazbang, and Jen C, who are 3 very regular beer donators. So thank you, as always, for continuing to keep beer in our fridge and also to keep the channel moving along. So we do appreciate that. So with that, there was one other thing that I wanted to mention as well. There was a new camera that was released this week by a tiny little company you may have heard of called Apple. Apple released their iPhone 17 lineup, iPhone 17 lineup, and one of them was a new one, which was the iPhone Air, which that's a side-on view of the iPhone Air. It is 5 point something millimeters thin. It's a tiny phone. It's very small and lightweight. And although we do obviously, I use professional equipment, Cam uses professional equipment, I do like to sometimes mention these developments that are coming through in the phone world, because let's face it, a lot of us do use our phones to take photos as we're getting around, and it's amazing to see the technology that's now coming along in these phones. To give you some idea, I just thought I'd bring up some specs on that that particular new camera that's been mounted into, this is a brand new camera from Apple. Well, they tell us it's brand new. It's there's a main camera which is 48 megapixels, and then when you use zoom, it does flick to a different sensor, and it uses the 2x telephoto sensor for a 12 megapixel result. But as you can see in the specs there, 26 mil focal length or 52 mil focal length at zoom. So you've basically got a 26 to 52 mil lens in your pocket with an f1.6 aperture, which is pretty amazing considering how small and compact these phones have become. So it's going to be interesting to see how that technology, because normally what happens is the technology gets shrunk down into the phones, but sometimes the technology goes back the other way as well. And we find this stuff coming out in higher end SLR models. So very, very interesting times to see Apple in particular focusing again very heavily on the camera. So watch this space in terms of what Apple might be coming out with next, because I'm of the opinion that Apple will probably release a mirrorless SLR camera sometime in the very near future, as will our friends at DJI. It's no surprise that the Hasselblad offering, which is basically made by DJI, the Hasselblad X2D, they've just released the Hasselblad X2D2, which is a mouthful. And as someone mentioned on another channel, it does sound like a droid from Star Wars. But it's looking more and more likely that DJI are going to release a full frame camera pretty soon, which is going to be interesting. No doubt it'll have the touchscreen interface of the X2D. So it'll be interesting. So yeah, technology that's coming out in these new phones is going to make its way into more and more cameras as things develop. So we're certainly watching that with a very, very keen eye. All right. So don't turn off, because I'm about to take you guys on a bit of a trip over to Point Lonsdale, where I take some photos, and you can check that out. If you are listening to the show, this might be a good time for you to head on over to YouTube and check it out, because what you're about to hear may not make a lot of sense without the pictures. So head over to our YouTube channel or head to dsps.com.au. The link is there where you can actually watch this video back. Okay, guys, that's it. Sit back, enjoy, and I'll catch up with you after this little video clip. Cheers. Well, g'day. Here I am at Point Lonsdale. So this is the jetty at Point Lonsdale. If any of you have been on our one-day workshops, you'll recognise this place. I live just at Ocean Grove, just over the way there. So I thought I'd bring you out and show you guys how I go about taking a photo. Something a little bit different for the channel, which is cool. A bit windy here today, so we've got, I've sort of come up here to do this first bit because it's a little bit sheltered up there, but out here in the wind, so hopefully you can hear me okay. I'll try and correct the audio if you can't. Yeah, Point Lonsdale. So I'm going to flip the camera around and show you. So there's the good old jetty that runs straight out here. And the cool thing about Point Lonsdale is that is, well, in that way, sort of Tasmania. So if you keep going that way for a fair while, you end up in Tassie. And this is the entrance into Port Phillip Bay. So this is the big shipping channel right here. So you get a lot of the big ships come through. This is called the Rip here. Across on the other side there is what's known as Point Nepean. Further around you got Sorrento and those sort of places up there, Portsea. And then further across here is the channel, the shipping channel that goes all the way up to Melbourne. Melbourne is actually over there somewhere, so it's a major shipping channel. But what's really cool about it, of course, is also we've got a cracking old lighthouse here as well, which has been there for about 150 years, I think. So it's a great spot to come for photos. But the main attraction here, and what I'm going to probably use a fair bit in this shoot, is the jetty. The other cool thing about today, if I angle this down a little bit, is we've got a little bit of swell running as well. So we've got some waves coming in, so it's going to actually help me hopefully get a cool composition for you guys, and as I say, show you how I go about things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wander down. I've actually already got a little spot sorted out down here, so I'm going to wander down here, and I'll catch up with you when I get down there. So as I make my way around here to my spot, it's really cool here because you've got, as I say, you've got the fantastic jetty, which gives you plenty to work with in terms of subject material. The other cool thing here is you've got all these fantastic these ancient rock formations and things along here as well. So you can see here you get some really cool layering and things like that, which works at pretty much any time of the day. Today the weather, it's sort of behaving itself. We've got some cloud up here that we can probably use as well. But what I'm really interested in here is the foreground. So we've got the waves sort of breaking over the rocks here with that jetty in the background. So I've got with me my gear. So I've got the Low Pro backpack here. Got a couple of tripods. One I'm going to put this camera on shortly to show you what I get up to when I'm setting up. I'll show you what I've got with me inside the pack. So in here, I've got a couple of bodies. So I've got my Nikon Z5 Mark II. I've got the Tamron 150-500. I've got the Nikon Z50 Mark II. And I've also got some wide angle lenses with me as well. So on that, I'll show you. On that right there is the 16-30 from Tamron for the Z mount, which I'm really enjoying using. Thanks to Tamron for loaning me that. And that's probably going to be the lens that I'm going to use primarily out here today. So let me get set up. I'm going to put you guys on a little tripod so you can see me getting set up, and we'll go from there. So, right, so I'm probably going to need to put this down. I don't know if that's going to stand up or fall over or what, but we're going to find out. Oh, put that there. And I'm going to use this guy to support you guys. So this is the Leo Photo Ranger LS225C. Cool little carbon fiber tripod from Leo Photo. All of this gear you can get from Ocean Grove Camera and Photo, by the way. But I'm just going to get this set up so you guys can see what I'm doing. That's great. The light is sort of coming. We've got some good sort of sunshine now. When I arrived, it was a little bit overcast, so wasn't too sure what we're going to get. So let's get this set up sort of here. Now, make sure we get everything tight and Brendan, so you guys don't fall in the drink. Put that on there. All right, so let's grab that. Okay, so something I just found out was this thing likes to turn itself off after a few minutes, but anyway, we'll persevere. Yeah, so this is the Nikon Z5 with a 16-30 on. I've got the ND filter fitted now. So what I'm basically doing when I come to a place like this, as I said before, is looking straight away, just looking for a solid composition that I can use. And I really like what's going on over here with the water breaking over the rocks and that awesome jetty in the background. So that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to probably swivel you guys around just to show you how I'm putting these compositions together, and we'll give that a go and see how it goes. So what I like to do when I'm putting my camera on the tripod, let me just angle that up a bit so you can actually see me, that'd be handy, wouldn't it? What I like to do when I'm putting my camera on these tripods is just make sure, 100% sure, that the camera's locked off properly. It's so easy to, fit it on there and you think, oh, well, that's on, and then the camera goes flying. Always triple check. Just make sure your camera's nice and secure onto your tripod. That way there's no accidents. So as I was saying, I'm gonna just pop down here. I'm gonna move you guys around. So try this. There we go. Now you can sort of see what I'm playing with here. So you can see I've got those waves. Got those waves breaking, through here. So that's what I'm looking for, is those waves breaking through. Right now, it's a bit of a challenge because, as you can see, I'm standing in a lot of shade, but out there is still in broad daylight. So to be perfectly honest, it's going to be a little bit tricky to get this shot without having that break in the light and dark areas. Of course, I can always lift the shadows, but right now, this is actually looking pretty harsh, but you know what? We'll give it a go. That way I can take a shot, put it on the screen and show you what I mean. So I'm just going to get a fairly basic composition down here. Find a nice even spot for the tripod, of course. Lower that leg down. Tripods are a necessary evil. There we go. So you can see I've just sort of looking here, I've got the jetty here. I've got these awesome rocks in the foreground. Let's fire this thing up now. So I'm going to actually shoot this image in manual. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I am pretty sure I know what aperture I need to be able to get this foreground in the shot and also the background as well. So but in focus, I mean. And as we all know, using a higher aperture number or shutting the iris down should help us get a little bit more depth. Now in this case, f11 looks pretty good. We'll have a look and see. I mean, I think f11 is probably going to work. I might actually bring you guys a little bit closer so you can see a little bit more of what I'm up to. Trying not to put you in the water here. This is so cool. Now, can you see a problem? This strap flying around like that. So so we're in a bit of wind here. I'm going to come over this side and hopefully shield my mic from the wind. But as you can see, with the strap flying around like that, I hate them. They're like a sail. So it's really, really tricky to control that strap. What I like to do is basically just wrap it around the tripod as much as I can so that it's not really going to fly off or take off anywhere. Of course, it's going to be a pain in the bum and not stay there for me. That way, when the wind hits that strap, it's not sort of blowing my camera around. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to just make my first composition. Now, straight away, a very, very simple, straightforward composition, sure. But what I'm trying to do here is get the entire length of that awesome jetty on the end of my shot. And you can't quite see it in this lens, but on this lens, I can see the end of the jetty there. I can also see that I've got that beautiful movement in the waves coming over the rocks already. So I might actually unhook you guys from here, bring you around. So I don't know if that's going to come across very well at all, but what I'm trying to do is get all of the jetty in the shot and also this awesome foreground here that my camera's looking at. So let's fire this up and see what we can do. Now, first of all, because I'm tripod mounted, I'm going to want to shoot at a nice low ISO. And in the case of this guy, I'm going to get it off auto ISO and I'm going to shoot at 100 ISO. So I've now got that set to 100 ISO. I'm also going to have a look at, make sure initially that I've got that neutral density filter set to minimum. So it's probably only at 2 stops at the moment, that ND filter. Now, with my aperture, I don't know if you can see that, but at the moment I'm at f5, so I don't want that. I know that I'm going to want something a little bit deeper, so let's go out to, let's try it at f11. And now I can bring my shutter speed down to where I need it to be. Now, I've already mentioned that I'm going to try and get some of the movement on the water here. I'll just flip you guys around. So I'm going to try and get a bit of movement on the water here. So what I'm going to need to do then is give myself a shutter speed that actually shows that water or does the complete opposite and freezes the water. Now, in this case, because I want to get the movement on the water, I find a shutter speed of even 1/3 of a second is enough to give you a look at that movement, if you like. So you can actually see a little bit of blur on that water, 1/3 of a second for pretty fast moving water like we've got here. Got some big waves rolling in. So basically what I'm going to do now is sort of take a couple of shots and try and time it so that I get a wave breaking over one of the rocks or something like that. So let's, hopefully this camera keeps recording and I'll flip you guys around and we'll have a look at what we're talking about. So I'll get you back over here on the tripod. And I'll even face you the right way. All right, so I'll probably move you off to the side a little bit, only because I'm a bit worried. Hello, doggo. All right, how are you? That's the way. Saying g'day to a local. So as you can see, I'm pretty much set up now for the shot that I want to get. I've got my my composition dialed in pretty much to how I want it just for this demonstration. And now it's just a matter of me trying to time a bit of a breaking wave. So I'm going to take my shutter speed, as I was mentioning, I'm going to try and bring it down to... All right, so I'm all set up now for my shot. Just had to break while I spoke to a local walking past. So what I've done here is I've given myself, the main reason I wanted to shoot in manual here was because I know that I'm going to want to try and get a bit of blur on this water. And to achieve that, as I was saying, 1/3 of a second will give me some blur, and then I can push it out to half a second or a full second as I go. So what I did straight away was dial up f11. I'm actually probably going to push that out a little bit more. On this camera, it's going to go to f13, so that world famous aperture of f13. So I'm going to leave it on f13, and I'm going to give myself probably half a second if I can get it. So now I've just changed that to half a second as well. And now it's just a matter of me waiting for a wave to come up over those rocks there, and hopefully I can get a bit of blur on the water. Now what I've also done is I've set this camera to touchscreen autofocus and to trigger the camera as well. So here comes a wave, well, not quite there, I'll keep an eye on it. But I can see some waves building up in the background now, so we'll just give it a sec, and we should be able to get those waves breaking over this rock here. So here it comes. There we go, beautiful. So now I've managed to shoot at half a second, tapping on the screen to not only focus the camera, but also take the photo as well. So where should I focus? Well, in the case of this shot, what I've done is I've focused in about 1/3 of the way into the shot. So at the moment, the water breaking over those rocks is happening at about 1/3 the distance from the bottom of my frame. So I've got the camera set to an aperture, as I was saying, of f13. So about 1/3 from the bottom, generally speaking, and I am generalizing a bit here, will normally give you the hyperfocal distance, which basically means everything is in focus from that area that I tapped. So the bottom third, I've got everything in focus from there basically to the horizon. Anything closer than that will start to lose focus as it gets a bit closer to me. But because I'm at f13, you're not going to even see any of that going on. There will be a little bit of unsharp areas, if you like, or blurred areas quite close, but I don't, for the sake of, you know, a few pixels, it's not really going to make that much of a difference when we're shooting at f13. So here comes another wave over the top, so I'll just take a photo there of that. All right, so I'm just going to flick through. Okay, so I've got a couple of shots there. I'll put them up on the screen now so you can have a bit of a look-see. Yeah, so while I was looking back at those shots as well, I also noticed I've got a bit of an issue with how high I am. So at the moment, and I don't mean that like I've been, what I mean is physically how high I am off these rocks in front of me. And what it does, I'll just show you here, I'm going to spin you around. So what it does, you can see you've got quite a bit of a distance here between the jetty and particularly those, bring that down a bit, just between the jetty and those rocks there. Now, when you've got good waves coming through like I have right now, that's probably not such a bad thing. So actually, while I'm going, I'll grab a shot of that coming across. So again, that's just using touchscreen autofocus for the moment. And what I'm not overly thrilled about though is this big gap here, because it's a fair bit of nothing. So what I think might be a good idea is I might even try and get a little closer down here and get a little bit lower. So I'm going to try and lower this tripod down. So I'll put you guys back on your setup. And we'll see how we go. So this could make for great content. Let's see. By me falling down here. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to try and lower my legs a little bit, make them a wee bit shorter. And I'm going to actually try and, excuse my back, I'm actually going to try and position the camera down here on these rocks like so, only so that it gives me that, it sort of compresses that distance that I was talking about in here. So now with the camera nice and low, I'm actually going to have less of this area here. So let's bring you a bit closer so you can see. So now what I need to do, of course, because I've moved the camera and moved the tripod, is I need to now obviously rebalance it because it's all over the shop. So now I can go like so, get my jetty back in the shot. Now here I'm running at half a second, as I was saying, and I'm just now waiting for another wave to come over, and we'll see if we can get a different look at this. There we go. That's pretty cool. So again, we've got that problem at the moment of clear blue skies. It's almost too good, the conditions now, and we've got some shadowing happening just in front of us. But when I look back at that photo, what I have managed to capture is the movement in the water that I was after, which is now here on the screen. You can see it floating like magic just up in there. So you can see we've got that movement on the water. What I have done in that shot is just lifted those shadows a little bit. Now, this is not, I'm not planning on this being an award-winning photo or anything like that, but what it is doing is it's giving me time to practice and to be out here taking photos, even in rather challenging light like we've got now. The cool thing is there's been only one other person here for the whole time I've been here so far, and I have noticed that under the jetty is pretty empty as well. So I probably will sneak under there in a sec and see if we can do a similar sort of thing there to get a little bit of movement on the water from under the jetty. So what we've got happening here, I'll try not to get drowned here. What we've got happening now is that big boring blue sky. And I can see on the frame that I've made up that the cloud is cleared out. Pretty typical when I go taking photos, all the cloud likes to rack off, but that's okay. And you can see that we really don't have much interest in the sky now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start looking around for where else I can be taking photos now. As the light might fall away, we're about 4 o'clock in the afternoon now, so sunset's around 6:30. I don't know if I'll be here that late, but we'll see. It will depend totally on the conditions, of course, but I'm going to wander over here under the jetty, and we'll catch up with you over there. Right, so what could possibly go wrong? I'm just holding everything in one hand and my backpack over my shoulder and heading down here. Hopefully that wind isn't too bad. We're going to find out in the edit. So yeah, here in sort of late winter, early spring, we do get a lot of these rocks exposed because we get pretty big swells through winter. And the swells can come right in, and they have been known to get over the top of this jetty from time to time as well. So you get a lot of this area sort of stripped right back. And I'll walk over here and have a look-see. Hopefully old mate didn't walk his dog under there and make a heap of footprints, but we'll find out. Can't have everything. So, Alright, so I've moved here under the jetty. Hopefully you can hear me okay with all this wind around. We'll soon see, I guess. So I'm going to set up this. I think you guys can see what I'm trying to shoot here. But what I might do is flip you guys around this way. Now the reason I did that is so I'm protecting this microphone from the wind a little bit. So once again, I find myself with some relatively challenging light because we've got a lot of sun coming through the pillars here, but I kind of like it. It's giving us some nice shadow lines, as you can see there with the pillars. We've got some really good swell coming through still, so which is pretty cool. I'm hoping I don't get wet feet or my camera bag doesn't get washed away, but I'll keep an eye on that. In fact, move your camera bag, Brendan. Better to be safe than sorry, right? So I've moved the camera bag. All right, so now what we're looking at here under the jetty is we've got this fantastic vanishing point here at the end of the jetty, which has always been, it's quite a cliched shot, but it's a cliched shot for a reason, because it's cool. So do that old trick with my tripod that doesn't work, and let's recompose this shot so that we're looking straight down. Now this time I'm going to try and brighten the scene a little bit more because I've got a lot of shadows going on, a lot of shadows that are affecting the scene. So I'm going to try and get my composition pretty square on here and wait for a little wave to come up. Now I haven't changed anything on my settings, so I'm still in manual mode. I'm shooting at f13 at the moment. I'll probably crank that back a little bit to f11. And I can achieve, with my neutral density filter, I can achieve half a second shutter speed. So I'm going to try and do that half a second again like we did over there, and hopefully we can get something. Let's wait for a wave. Here comes a good wave coming up. Hopefully it doesn't wash up all the way up here, but we'll see how we go. And that's a cool wave, so I can shoot that. So again, just using touchscreen autofocus to focus about a third of the way in on that water as it comes in, and giving myself that half a second shutter speed to get a bit of movement on the water. So that wave's not too bad, but I can see behind there's some other ones coming. That's a cool thing about landscape photography and with waves is they keep coming. So if you don't like the first one, just wait a sec and you get a little shot like that. That's cool. And I can see already just on quick playback here on the screen that I'm getting that blur that I want. I'm really 50-50 about the shadow lines, but in a little bit of editing, I might be able to raise the shadows a little bit and get that sorted out. So one thing about coming under here as well, don't jump up too high, you'll bang your head. So we might just try and get one more shot here. Here we go. Nice. Yeah, so we got that wave right up then with a little bit of blur on the water as well. So that really helped. Again, we don't have awesome skies. You can see out the back here, the skies are very, very sort of pale blue and not really doing it for me at the moment. But hey, you never know. Things might change as the light starts to drop. The cool thing about here as well is pretty soon the light's going to fall below the hill over here. So these shadow lines that you get will hopefully disappear and give us a much more even spread of light rather than this really contrasty light and shade that we've got going on now. So also what I thought I'd do is maybe try a bit of a vertical composition here as well, because we've got, as I was saying, that sky out to the right-hand side of the photo, not great. So I'm going to try and eliminate that as much as I can by making a vertical composition and basically letting the whole of this jetty make up the composition. So to do that, untangle my strap here. Really going to get rid of this. I'm not a huge fan of camera straps. The cool thing about this setup I've got at the moment is it has an L bracket on it. So the L bracket can be used very quickly and easily to rotate your camera vertically. So now I've got the camera in the vertical orientation. I can flip the screen down. I can work basically from here, which is good, and immediately the wave comes up, and I didn't even frame that shot. I just turned the camera vertical and took it because I had the water here. It's actually pretty cool at the moment. We've got some pretty awesome reflections happening now off the sand. So the problem I'm having though is at those sort of longer exposure times that I'm trying to get, it's sort of blowing out a few of the highlights. So I'm going to actually bring that exposure time down a wee bit. I'm probably going to bring it down to about 1/10 of a second. For some reason, this has switched itself back to auto ISO, which I don't want. There we go. So I'm going to flick it back to 100 ISO. And I'm now just going to brighten my scene a little bit. That's at 1/3 of a second. That's pretty cool. And now with the waves going back, you're getting those really nice reflections in the water, on the sand as well, which sort of helps this composition along a little bit. Again, not overly thrilled with how bright everything is, so I'm just going to tweak that polarizer as well. And there's a pro tip for you straight away. A lot of people, when I'm teaching them photography and I talk to them about a polarizer, and I'll say, do you have a polarizer? And a lot of people say, yeah, I've got a polarizer. And I say, can you put it on your lens? So they put it on their lens. And then they tell me, great, polarizer's fitted, away we go. What a lot of people don't realize is you have to actually twist the end element of your polarizer. So your polarizer comes in two parts. Doesn't come apart, but it comes in two parts that rotate against each other. That end element is designed to spin and give you more or less polarization as you turn it. And the best way to check that is literally while you've got your camera, your scene ready to go, the last thing I do is just tweak that polarizer just to make sure I'm getting the polarizing effect that I'm after. And of course, the effect of a polarizer is to give you more or less reflection off a surface. So the light rays that come back to you are diverted so that you get, you can either see through the reflection or you can actually enhance the reflection as well. And in a case like this, I think further down there I can see the waves coming back off the sand, and I'm kind of hoping that I get a decent wave again come up, because when I did, I got a lot more reflection off that sand when the sand's quite wet. And I can see it doing it now, but I really want to get that up a little bit higher. There's two things I can do, is I can be patient and I can wait for that wave to come up. Like that one's not too bad. So I'll just get that frame now. There's a beauty as I speak. That'll help. So what I've done there is let that wave wash back, and then here comes another one as well. So I'll just let that one wash back now. Here we go. And hopefully that's going to pick up some of that reflection for us off that sand that we can see there. Here comes a beauty now, actually. So the wave comes right up, we let it go back, and you can see we're left with some great reflection on the sand. Here comes an even bigger one. Oh, that's great. So there we go. So shooting vertical, and I've managed to cut out a bit more of that sky that's out to the right-hand side there. I am a little tempted to go down closer, but I'm also quite wary that a few of these waves have come up quite a way. Don't really feel like getting my feet wet. I mean, for you guys to do anything, but you know, wet feet, early spring, not great, particularly if I'm going to be here for a little bit longer yet. So there you have it, folks. Sorry for the slightly abrupt ending there, but it was basically where I'd stopped recording out at Point Lonsdale. Hope you enjoyed that. Something that we want to do a bit more of here on the channel is get you guys out into our landscapes, so to speak, and give you a few tips and tricks and things like that on how to shoot scenes like that. Tonight's scene was this afternoon's scene was quite challenging, as you saw. The conditions didn't improve at all. I was actually hoping for a bit of high-level cloud, maybe get a bit of a sunset. But as it turned out, it stayed pretty much blue sky for about the next half an hour. So I sort of waited around and was hoping that we might get some better light. And then all of a sudden, all the cloud came across on the horizon and completely killed any chance we had of a sunset tonight. So that's them's the breaks. That's how it goes when you're shooting landscape. But as I say, I hope you enjoyed that. We'd appreciate your feedback. As always, if you've got any questions or comments and stuff, leave them below. We'll do our best to answer them for you. That's just the beginning. As I say, I'm personally learning the ropes on how to do that sort of stuff. So I think it can only sort of improve from here. There was a couple of jump cuts and things like that, but hey, we'll get there with it. So again, hopefully you enjoyed it. That is it. That is the podcast. This has been episode 177 of the Down South Photo Show. We'll catch you next week, maybe solo, maybe with someone else, maybe with Mr. Blake, hopefully, for episode 178 next week. Bye. Cheers.